Hey guys, it's Liv here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a Scarlet and Violet Wi-Fi battle built around Chi-Yu. If you guys enjoy the content and you want to see more, leave a like and subscribe, and make sure you click the buttons down below for things such as Twitter and Discord to stay up to date, as well as the channel membership button where we're starting exclusive members-only guides on Wednesday that you guys will pick. Like and subscribe for more, and comment your thoughts on the battle down below, and let's get into it. First up on the team, of course, we do have Dragapult. This is designed to be a Hex Wisp set, which basically Hex Wisp is one of Dragapult's best sets from last generation that's finally seeming to make a resurgence this gen. It's a great way to burn physical attackers as well as boost the damage of your ghost type attacks, and with the Terastal Fairy, we're able to be a pretty decent defensive check that will wall out opposing Dragapults, as this is one of, if not the fastest viable Pokemon of the tier. We have Draco and U-Turn, which are great options as far as just damage goes, with Draco being a great option to just hit other dragons, as well as U-Turn being a great way to pivot while still doing good damage to opposing Psychics and Darks. Up next, we have Goldengo, which is a heavy-duty boot set, with Shadow Ball, Make It Rain, Recover, and Nasty Plot. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize this Pokemon got Recover until my friend passed me the team, but oh my god, this only makes Goldengo more terrifying as a hazard deterrent. With heavy-duty boots, we're essentially going to be immune to any opposing hazards, with Good as Gold being a great way to stop any sort of status that would inflict Goldengo, such as Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, Taunt, and Defog. So any move that is not a damaging output move does not affect Goldengo, and this is a really good way to stop opposing Defog options. And not only this, but their typing, we're also immune to any sort of rapid spinners. With the Terastal fighting, this should make it into at least an option that can handle T-Tar a bit better, especially with Nasty Plot and Make It Rain, so we should be in good hands here. Up next, we do have Slowking with the heavy-duty boots. We have the Terra Fairy typing, which is great at sponging dragon hits, especially from stuff like Dragapult, which is running Specs Draco a lot. We have the Regen ability, which helps us gain HP back every time we switch, and Chilly Reception makes a great way for this to be a strong pivot, with this being an option that will switch us out as well as set up Snow. We also have Thunder Wave, Future Sight, and Psychic. Psychic is a great way to immediately damage fighting types, which will also resist not only with the Water Psychic typing, but also with the Fairy Terastal. And we have Future Sight, which is a more long-term option of doing so. It might bait in Darks a bit more, which could be great for stuff like Goldengo as well as some Pokemon later on. Up next, we have Garchomp with the Rocky Helmet. It's a great hazard setter with Stealth Rocks and Spikes. We have Dragon Tail to phase out any sort of physical setup options, as well as Earthquake, which is just a great stab. With Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin, any sort of physical attackers that try and make contact should take a ton of damage from this Pokemon, making Garchomp an amazing hazard lead, as well as just a great defensive backbone. Next up, we have Corviknight with the U-Turn, Iron Events, Body Parts, and Roost set. Basically, it's just designed to take on any sort of U-Turners. It's a great Scizor check. It's probably one of the best Scizor checks I can think of. It's also great, more importantly, though, for stuff like Tyrannitars, which is probably one of the best defensive options that would handle Chi-Yu's stabs in the tier, and this is a really great way to deter that. Overall, though, it's a great pivot. It's a great setup option with Iron Defense, and late game, this could honestly just smash teams. Final mon on the team, though, we do have the Mon of the Hour Chi-Yu. We have a Terastal Water Chi-Yu, which is designed to handle any sort of common Chi-Yu counterplay. For example, as I mentioned earlier, Tyranitar does not really like switching in on Terra Blast, and unless it's some sort of AV shenaniganry, it's probably going to take half at least. With Will-O-Wisp, we're able to pressure physical attackers that would otherwise be threatening, and with Fire move plus Dark move, we're able to massacre teams. In this particular case, since I'm not really aiming for as high damage output as possible, but rather consistent damage over time, I went with Flamethrower and Dark Pulse, though if you're feeling lucky, you could probably go for Overheat, which could be a more immediate nuke option, or even Fire Blast, which could do a little bit more of a mid-ground, since you wouldn't be forced out after just one attack. However, you also would have the chance to misbeat a slight increase over Fire Blast. You could realistically do a lot of these options though, but I would recommend going with Flamethrower unless you're going with a Spec set, which in that case, the fourth move over Will-O-Wisp could just be something like a Fire Blast, or an Overheat, or even Psychic if you want a little more coverage for stuff like Toxapex, though at the same time, Dark Pulse should do plenty of that Pokemon. With that said though, that's the team, and let's get right into the battle. Peace out, guys. Hey guys, it's Liv here. In today's video, we're going to be taking on Zero with a team built around Chi-Yu. This is a Chi-Yu offense, of course, and if you guys enjoy and you want to see more content like this, leave a like and subscribe on the video for more. With that said, let's get started. Also, I fucked up my face cam setting, so I'm fixing it live. I'm so sorry. But basically though, my opponent's team, it's a very decent team to be honest. It consists of Tyranitar, Iron Thorns, Klefki, Dragapult, Meowscarada, and Scizor. So this is very interesting at the very least. I do like the dual T-Tar sort of combination. I've actually seen this from a couple different people as far as the team being like on YouTube at least. So it definitely feels like a YouTube team for sure. They probably got a run code from someone, and it seems like a fun team at the very least. But with that said, as far as their team goes, their team is fairly weak to Garchomp actually. They don't really have a great switch in. And on top of this as well, I think Garchomp's an amazing lead here because their only real good lead for that could be... It could be Dragapult, to be fair, which I guess I'll have to go into Corviknight. I don't really have a better defensive switch into that. Dragapult will definitely need to be something I keep an eye on, and I think that means I'm going to have to burn my Terastal just specifically to check Dragapult, actually, which means I'm either going Terastal Fairy on my pull, Terastal Water on Chi-Yu, which would be like a soft check, or Terastal Fairy on Slowking, which Terastal Fairy Slowking is probably what I'm going to have to end up doing here. Regardless, though, good luck have fun to my opponent, and with that said, let's get into it. So they're going to lead off with Chew on me. This is their Klefki. Okay, this is fine. My Garchomp should be a pretty decent lead against this, even if they have a Fairy move. We are fast bulky Garchomp on this team. My plan here, their team is entirely grounded. I'm going to go for Spikes. Spikes should be a lot better long-term than Stealth Rocks would be, since it's not checking weaknesses, and they have multiple rock not weaknesses, resistances here. None of their Pokemon are rock weak either, actually. So Spikes will be better for stuff like Klefki, for example, as well as Pokemon like Iron Thorns and Tyranitar. They're going to go into Scizor here. This is actually really fine by me, because I do have Dragon Tail on my spread, which means that Scizor can't even use me as a setup target. Though, if it decided to just raw attack, that's actually fine by me as well, because we have the helmet. It's actually as Defog. Scizor gets Defog still? I swear I thought this mon lost Defog. It's kind of cool if it keeps it. I just thought Scizor lost it is all. Does it actually keep... It does keep Defog. Okay. This wasn't just something I got by hack check. I just had to make sure because it really caught me off guard, I'll be honest. Because I thought Scizor lost like all of its defensive utility. This is fine though. I can actually just go for more Spikes here. I don't really mind going for more Spikes in all honesty. They're still really good against this team. And I highly doubt that my opponent keeps Tyranitar in against Garchomp. They do keep Tyranitar in. They're clicking an Ice move. They're clicking an Ice move or they're clicking Rocks. I don't really care which one, to be honest. Because I don't think they might KO. Okay, yeah, they do KO. But this is fine, actually. We're weakening their T-Tar, which is a decent check to my Dragapult, if nothing else. So I'll definitely take that. And not only this, but we get our Spike up at the very least. And Scizor should be decent enough to pressure. From here, what I'm going to do, I kind of want to bring in Goldenko here, because I can go for Terastal Fighting. I could also just go into Corviknight, which I think is probably my best play. I'm going to go into Corviknight, and I'm going to click Iron Defense. My opponent should actually really struggle with this outside of Iron Thorns, which I don't mind Iron Thorns coming in all honesty, because I could potentially actually just Terastal around that as well. But we'll have to kind of see where the battle takes us. It's going to be interesting getting around that Iron Thorns, to be honest. They're going to withdraw Gumbo here, and they're definitely going Iron Thorns, right? And they're going to Scizor. Okay. So them going Scizor is actually really fine for me, because that means I can get up another Iron Defense here, which should be pretty decent. Because the end goal is to take out the dual Rock Core. If I take out the dual Rock Core, I should actually be pretty okay with sweeping with Chi-Yu. So we're going to go for another Iron Defense here, just so I get the +4 on the Scizor. I would truthfully rather trade my Spike. I already got some okay damage on Dragapult, than to allow Scizor to not take more damage from Body Press. Because especially if this is like just the max HP Scizor, let's say, it's taking around 70%, which should actually be enough to take this mon out. And if my opponent tries to switch, that's fine. They would basically need to go into Dragapult here. Don't go into Dragapult. They're going to go into Klefki. Okay, so Klefki is also fine for me, to be honest. This should be a neutral hit, if nothing else. Probably just half. Yeah, it does actually way more than half. Okay, so I do have a little bit of a predicament here, because I do think that Dragapult might come in here. Though my opponent could also just set up a Reflect for this. I think in either case, I'm just going to click Body Press here. They're going to go for a Reflect. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so Klefki should be dead if nothing else, which is pretty decent. They do have Reflect up for a few turns at the very least, if this is light screen up to 7 more turns. But in turn, we did clear the Klefki, so I will definitely take that. Also, we know that Tyranitar, if nothing else, is definitely semi-offensive, so that's good to note. Single Mon comes in, that's definitely Dragapult. Yep, 100% that's Dragapult. Good to note. This is fine. I'm actually going to go for a U-turn here. Because I do have other Pokemon such as Tyranitar that I can pressure out and roost up on. So they're going to go for Shadow Ball here. That's perfectly fine. We can actually scout this pretty easily. So as far as our Corviknight set goes, we're just Force Bideth versus Dragapult. And this one for Shadow Ball, and it did about half. So this is definitely a Specs Dragapult for sure. We can go into Chi-Yu and we basically do Claim a Kill, which should be, if nothing else, pretty nice. What I'll probably end up doing, let's see, so we're Terra Water on this. I could actually go for Terra. Terra Water would, if nothing else, be really strong for taking out the Tyranitars. So what I'm actually going to do, I think I'm going to pop the Terra, because this is still a pretty decent Terra option, and there's no way in hell that they're going into anything else besides Tyranitar. They're going to switch out here, and they are bringing in... They're bringing in Gumbo, the Tyranitar. Okay, perfect. This actually works out great. So my opponent's going to have to take the Terra Water hit. I feel like this will not take it out, but the second one should definitively, which is really strong because all of my opponent's water switch-ins are weak to one of our stabs. So this is really good for us. I don't really know what Pokemon they would actually have in their team, even with a Terra typing. They would actually switch around this Pokemon because the checks to fire and water are so obnoxiously different. So my opponent's going to have to take this Terra Blast on Tyranitar. It's probably going to do around like 40. That did way more than I expected, I can't lie. But to be fair, this is great for us. My opponent's going to have to take this Terra Blast here. So I will definitely take that. Tyranitar is cleared from the field, and this means I only need to worry about the Iron Thorns, not Terra typing, the Spidef boost on Iron Thorns for a couple more turns. So honestly, that's really good for me. I'm going to definitely have to switch though. Chi-Yu already though getting off some really nice damage if nothing else. We've put some decent pressure on Dragapult too, however this is no longer a check. I'm pretty okay with this though, to be fair. They are going to proceed to go into Dragapult here. We know this is Specs, so what I can actually do here, as much as I like Corviknight, I could sack that. I could also sack Goldengo. However, I think that depending on what my opponent clicks, this could be good. Actually, what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to sack Slowking. Because I could potentially Chilly Reception out, or I could even just go for a Future Sight potentially, depending on what my opponent wants to do. So we're going to bring in Slowking. Final answer, I think I'm going to go for Chilly Reception. Because what my opponent's most likely going to do here, they're probably going to attack, and they're either going to go for the KO on Slowking, or they're going to switch out into Iron Thorns. So they're going to go for the Terra Dragon, actually. Terra Dragon's really good for me, truthfully. Because if nothing else, this means that I should be able to just go into Goldengo here. We know again that they are Specs, which is good for us. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go hard into Corviknight, and I'm actually going to get up a Roost. Because I think truthfully going for the Roost here is probably my best interest. I get some nice regen back on Slowking, which means that I can take another Draco from this potentially. Corviknight's certainly going to take 2 Dracos from this Pokemon. And again, we know that they're confirmed Specs at this point. They're also -2, so their damage output should peak at around 40. Which is great because this is a guaranteed Roost turn. This is now healthier to check Scizor later on. So honestly, I'll take that. Did they get a crit? No, they're modest. They're modest for sure. That's very interesting at the very least. Okay. Yeah, how did they do that much? Oh, you know what? Because of the Terra Dragon, right. Okay, so that might actually take us out. I'm going to gamble it. Because if they take our Corviknight, that's fine. I now have a free switch in into Chi-Yu again. And Chi-Yu gets a really free Dark Pulse. We've also then stalled through all the Sand turns, which I'll definitely take that. But yeah, we'll just go into Chi-Yu at the very least. Chi-Yu is now taking on a -6 Dragapult. They're 100% going to preserve this Mon, I feel like. So we're going to go into Chi-Yu though. And we're going to get up a nice Dark Pulse here. Their only switch into Dark Pulse would be Meowscarada, which is not a Chi-Yu switch-in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Dark Pulse here, and I'm just going to try and pressure whatever Mon comes in all honesty. I'm going to try and scout around Iron Thorns solely for the fact in case that is a Scarf Iron Thorns. If they sack Dragapult here, that's fine. That actually opens up my Dragapult significantly more. Though I will say I do need to be careful of Meowscarada being Scarf. It's really the only thing that could actually threaten it at that point. They're going to sack Scizor here, which is great because I lost Corviknight, which means that they're now getting rid of probably one of their better offensive pieces. So I'll certainly take this. They're going to probably proceed to go, I think I just click Flamethrower. Just in case they tried to play around this and maybe go into Meowscarada for some reason, or on my Dark Pulse. Specifically as well if they were like a Scarf set. They're going to lose Scizor here in return, that's fine. They were Life Orb Scizor, probably defog 3 attacks, like instead of Sword Stance, which is pretty clever to be fair. We've revealed that we're not Specs, I guess, which is a little unfortunate for my games later on, but I'm sure my opponent can tell from the damage output we're not. So that's honestly fine and not a big deal. They're probably going to go into Iron Thorns here, if not Dragapult. Either way, I think that my play is to go into Slowking and let that Mon go down. Because if Iron Thorns comes in, I can bring this in later on after I've scouted for just making sure this isn't Scarfed. Weed Bean, this is definitely the Iron Thorn. Oh no, it's Meowscarada, okay. So Meowscarada's coming in. This is interesting for sure. I think I'm going to go into Slowking here. and my goal is to scout for damage output. So what is my opponent actually going to click here? Losing Corviknight for this mon specifically sucks a little bit, but it's not a big deal because either Dragon Bolt takes it out or I could potentially play some Shenaniganry with Gholdengo / Chi-Yu, so I'm actually really fine with this. They're gonna go for knockoff. It's honestly fine. Okay, so they take us out. Pretty okay with that. We're gonna go into Dragon Bolt here. Yeah, I'm gonna go into Dragon Bolt here. And I think what I'm gonna do, they're Life Orb, okay. So what I think I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna click Will-O-Wisp actually, because I do anticipate that my opponent is probably gonna have Sucker Punch on their spread. They're either gonna have Sucker Punch or they're gonna hard switch out probably into Iron Thorns or Dragon Bolt. And in any of those cases, honestly, going for the Will-O-Wisp here is really valuable. So I'm gonna try and play around my opponent potentially having Sucker Punch because this does neutralize this mon a lot. Even if my opponent clicks Knockoff this turn or U-turn, I'm actually really okay with this too, because it's gonna do significantly less damage, and them clicking Knockoff is also really good for me because we've now lost our specs, or we've lost our boots, I guess, which I'm still fine with. So I'm pretty okay with this. They're now burned, which should be decent for us. What I'm going to proceed to do here, I'm gonna click Draco. If my opponent clicks Sucker here, so be it. It was a good play by them just clicking Knockoff though. And if they click Sucker here, amazing bluff by them actually. So Draco does go off, thankfully. They don't have hazards up, so I don't actually mind losing my boots. So one thing I will say is if they go Dragapult, I think I'm going to stay in and just attack it, because I do need to bank on my opponent getting the stat drop here. They're going to go into they're going to go into Iron Thorns actually. This is fine. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to click U-turn. They're going to go for the Quark Drive. They're attack boosting, right? Yep, they're attack boosting. Okay. So this is fine. That actually just revealed a lot of information. I'm sacking this to get the burn, because they're definitively booster energy, which is great information for us, of course. And then I can proceed to go into Gholdengo on this, actually. And Gholdengo should be able to get some good damage off. They're going to go for a Dragon Dance here. I'm pretty okay with this, because while they are going to be +1 attack and +1 speed, they should still actually underpace my Dragon Bolt, which is amazing for us. And I can get a free Hex off. So we're going to just go for the Hex here. Hex should be some really decent damage. Even at -2, we should be getting some good damage off. And if my opponent stays and goes for another Dragon Dance, so be it. They're going to go for another Dragon Dance here. Okay, so be it. At +2, they should now outpace us. Okay. But they're still neutral attack, basically. So, well, I guess +1 because the Quark Drive. I'm going to go for another Hex here. If they go for a third Dragon Dance, then I'm okay with this. They're actually still getting outpaced, which is incredible for us. So, they're going to go for Earthquake here. Okay, this is fine. Out of curiosity, how much does Gholdengo take? I might be in trouble. I might be in a bit of trouble. Okay. We're going to go into Gholdengo here, and I kind of need to just go for a Shadow Ball. To be fair, I will say, I don't know if I could really went hard into either of these mons. I think I kind of needed to make this play. They're going to go for Earthquake. Don't KO, don't KO, don't KO. Gholdengo, come on. Oh, fuck. Okay. This might be game. Very unfortunate, but honestly, it was a really close match, so I'll certainly take it. They preserved their Iron Thorns really well. I don't know if, I'll be honest, for booster energy, this was kind of just a tough matchup, to be honest. I love the team comp, actually. They did a really good job at making a team that could support this setup very easily, especially with stuff like the Duel of Rock. And also on top of this as well, they had stuff like Klefki to set up screens, which again, enabled this even further. At this point, I kind of just need to bang on the fact that they're going to be really slow. Their Wild Charge, okay, yeah, that's fine. I guess my best play, truthfully, would have been going into Chi-Yu and then forcing him to take Wild Charge Recoil on Gholdengo, which that honestly might have been an option, to be fair, but I don't think Chi-Yu took the Terra Dragon Draco. I'll be completely honest, I don't think it mattered for the end game. But regardless, good game for my opponent. And if you guys want to see more Wi-Fi content like this, leave a like in the video and subscribe. Shoutouts to all of our channel members, of course. We do have a bit of channel members, which, speaking of, actually, if you want to become a channel member, starting on Wednesday, we're going to be having new exclusive members-only guides going up for channel members. So if you want to become a channel member and see those exclusive guides for competitive that you guys will also be the ones choosing, make sure to hit that button down below to join, as well as Discord and Twitter to stay up to date on future content. With that said, shoutouts to our current channel members, though. We do have 5 right now, being Zeke0, Josh aka Ultra Player, Mia, Matt O'Shea, and Nox Nocturnal. Your guys' support is greatly appreciated on the channel, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Until then, peace out, guys.